Hello, friend, and welcome to this episode of How It Began, where we explore the origins of common idioms we use every day. Today we'll be breaking down the idiomatic phrase, pay the piper. Have you ever made a bad choice knowing that it would eventually catch up to you, that you'd be expected to pay the piper? But where does this ominous idiom actually come from? The answer is probably a bit darker than you think. The year was 1284, in the quaint little German town of Hamelin. Hamelin, however, as picturesque as it was, had a significant problem they were contending with. That problem? Rats. So many that they swarmed the streets, ruined food, and were driving everyone insane. An incessant and unending dilemma. The townsfolk had no solution, so out of pure desperation, they hired a mysterious stranger who'd recently arrived in town. A man dressed in multicolored, pied clothing who confidently proclaimed that he could solve their infestation problem. He was a rat catcher and a piper, and he claimed to have a magical, problem-solving flute. He eagerly announced that he would happily lead every last rat away from the town and drown them in the local river, if they were willing to pay for his services. The Burgermeister, being at his wit's end, agreed to pay the piper 1,000 guilders if he could make good on his claim. The piper accepted. So just as he promised, he proceeded to play his magical flute and lead every last rat down into the river to drown. Not a single one of the vermin avoided the allure of his melody. Victorious, he returned for his promised payment. But the greedy mayor now refused to pay. Instead, the piper was offered only 50 gold coins as payment, far less than the 1,000 he'd been promised. Enraged, the piper vowed revenge for this betrayal. With that, he angrily left Hamelin, the mayor and townsfolk believing his threat to be no more than hollow. This, however, would be a grave mistake. Sometime later, on St. John and Paul's Day, while the adults were at church, the piper returned. This time dressed in green like a hunter and playing a different tune on his pipe. Upon hearing this enchanting melody floating through the air, the town's children, in a trance-like state, began to follow him, blissfully unaware, dancing and laughing the whole way. He led all but 3 straight into a remote mountain cave. A cave they never returned from. The children of Hamelin were never seen again. It was the only 3 remaining children, 1 blind, 1 deaf, and 1 lame, that relayed the events to the townsfolk. Saved only by the fact that they were unable to follow the other children. Townsfolk, who now had to accept the horrible consequence for their ill-advised betrayal. From this chilling German legend came the idiom pay the piper, popularized by the brothers Grimm and Robert Browning's famous 1849 poem. It means facing the consequences of your actions, especially when you've tried to dodge responsibility for settling what is owed. So next time you're tempted to skip the check or avoid the fallout of a poor decision, remember the town of Hamelin. The music always stops, but sooner or later, you must pay the piper. Thank you so much for watching this episode of How It Began. If you enjoyed this idiom exploration, hit that like button. And if you'd like to see other idiom origins, subscribe to the channel. Any suggestions for other idiom origins you'd like us to tackle? Feel free to leave them in the comment section. In the meantime, why not check out some of our other videos from How It Began?